back because we've got one other person coming. So welcome. Hi there, welcome. So the focus really of this session is, I suppose, to ask the right questions. Ask yourself the right questions. You know, have the right kind of modes of inquiry and in a way of thinking and checklists to make sure that you are making an appropriate choice that is best for you when it comes to postgrad study. It is an investment in time, commitment, and it's a financial investment. So, you know, it's not something to take that lightly. So we're going to go through a variety of kind of reasons why people choose postgrads and things to think about and things to do in order to ensure that you really are on the right track. So there will be some lists of courses here, but this is not an information session on every single course. It's not about that. It's kind of coming at this decision in the right way. So, I mean, there are thousands of further study opportunities. Obviously, we would love you all to be here in UCC, but that's not the nature of this talk. It's about you making the right decision for yourself, and that may be in Ireland, it may not be here, it may be another institution, it may be studying in different kind of forms. But just to know that there are so many opportunities, not just kind of what you're looking at immediately. So, I mean, these are good things to think about. It might seem a little bit idealistic, but this is a really good place to start. It's to start with yourself and really think, reflect on yourself, the nature of kind of things that would interest you, how you think, how you learn, how you study, you know, and also what might, you know, from a career point of view, that kind of self-inquiry. So we have certain tools and methods that actually help you with that. But these are obvious things. What do you love? Are there things that you're very interested in? You know, what are you good at? You know, what does the world need? Well, there's some very obvious questions as to kind of skills shortages and competencies and knowledge now that are, you know, at a critical level, really. And, you know, and what, ideally, in the sweet spot of all that, if you could answer those questions, what could you be paid for? which is actually, you know, ideal, if you can find something that actually ticks all those boxes. But it's actually really, it's not just making a practical decision, oh, I'll do this because there's hundreds of jobs in that. It's you were the one in that experience, so you really need to think about that carefully. So, you know, there are lots of, you know, reasons why you might be considering postgrad study. This is a very common one. So you can see I got some emojis here, we got some smiley ones, and we got some ones with a not quite smiling, maybe a little bit concerned. Don't feel ready to leave college. Suddenly this is on me very fast, and I'm going to be graduating and going out those college gates. Don't feel ready. What can I do? You know, if I leave now, I'll never come back. That's also a fear, and sometimes parents say that to students, oh, if you leave now, you might never go back and do a master's, so you know, you need to do one now. All my friends seem to be doing postgrads. It seems to be a norm now that everyone's doing postgrad, so I should just do one straight away. These are not necessarily good reasons. You need to dig down a bit behind that. You know, I love my subject area. I want to gain more knowledge and skill in this area. That's a very good reason. I want to improve my job prospects and know that this course is going to help me access opportunities and start to build successful steps into a growing career area and build a career. I want to work in a new area. I want to change direction. These are very good reasons to think about a postgrad. The not being ready is not necessarily or being afraid that you're not going to be motivated to come back. You know, so what do you want then? Like, what are your reasons? Because there is a little bit of a norm, and I notice it from consultations where there are students kind of thinking, geez, I better do a master's. Everyone seems to be doing a master's. Not really. And the timing of that master's is very important. Sometimes people may need to do an internship or gain some insight, experience through work shadowing, through some temporary work, some way of working in an area to really make sure that they're in the right area. You know, sometimes there are things, other experiences you need to have before being eligible for a postgrad. But so, what do you want? Do you want new knowledge? Do you want to change direction? Do you want specialist knowledge in some aspect of what you're studying now? If the answer to that is yes, that's good. You know, are you looking for a new career direction? It's never been more normal and an easier time to study something that you really love, and then think, well, I'm going to change direction. Or maybe study something and you realise, actually, I'm not that enamoured here, I'm not that enthusiastic and motivated, I can change direction, I can sidestep into another direction that is connected to my area, or that is very different. Do I want a work placement? Maybe there was no work placement on my degree. And would I like that opportunity of now having an integrated work placement that's really going to kind of be an extra catapult into employment? Obviously, when there are some postgraduate work placements. Work placement is never actually guaranteed, but there are some postgrad courses with work placement. And some, in terms of the academic side of things, looking at possibly research interests and profiles of academics, looking at I want to learn from the best academics in my field. So you may really be looking at, I want a chance to do some further study. So you might be looking at course director in an area. You may be looking at a research kind of based postgrad, or obviously for a PhD. And we had one student here mention PhD. That would be an obvious thing. Looking at publications, looking at research profiles, looking at research activity, research clusters. That's a whole other talk and area to explore. But that would be a very obvious thing if you're considering studying at doctoral level. You want to gain research experience. Some taught postgrads will have a sizable research project that often that can be the precursor to actually realise you really like that, and maybe it'll catapult you on to the next step and might be maybe looking at a PhD. You want a professional qualification. That's a very good reason. There are some degrees obviously that provide a professional qualification. You need to make sure that that's accredited. So we look at something like the M-Plan in planning and sustainable development. You might look at something in like radiography or, audiology or areas in the health, physiotherapy, that you're getting a professional qualification. Or there may be some postgrads in the finance and business area that are actually providing you with the starting point of exemptions in order to move on to speed up a professional qualification in that area. Maybe you want to study abroad. And there would be some small numbers of courses that would be kind of Erasmus Plus type courses that might have a semester in another country, or these are kind of more specialised. They're not kind of out there as publicly available, but they are there, and I'm familiar with them. So important questions that to ask before selecting a course is, so the first one would be, how is this going to complement my degree? So there are some, as I say, areas where you're developing maybe a niche interest, or there's an interest, kind of a seed developing of interest in something to do with your current area of study, your bachelor's degree. And you're looking at, is there something that's going to enhance that or expand my knowledge in that area? Or something that supports, where my background is actually going to be valuable. It's not essential, but it's valuable. So there are, and I suppose I'm thinking, particularly with regard to conversion courses, there are some, we'll talk about conversion courses now in a moment, but that's where you're flipping into a completely new area, and there are some where they're complementing each other. So somebody might have an economics degree, and they may go off into a master's in finance, or so somebody may obviously have a business degree and they're going off doing something in marketing. So how is it going to complement it? Because you've got a real asset when you are doing a conversion course, because you now have two areas of knowledge. Am I interested? This is the most important thing. Am I actually interested in the subject area? Because there's some very obvious courses that have, we hear about certain skills shortages. I'm not going to mention areas, but, so just the title of a course can be synonymous with, growth area, lots of jobs. But you have to connect yourself to that. You're the one going to be working in that area. You're the one going to be studying and learning. And if you don't have a high level of motivation, a natural gravitation and an interest that's going to grow and develop in that area, it's going to be difficult for you actually to experience success and to even, even be employable sometimes. There are sometimes people choose courses because there's a high jobs yield, or, it's got this kind of 100%, people just go into high paying jobs or whatever straight away. And actually they haven't really thought about, do I love this? Because you're going to be the one doing interviews, proving that, hey, I'm in the right area, I love this, this is the right organisation for me, this is the kind of role I would love. So you're going to be the one doing it. So you really need to think of your interest area. Am I interested sufficiently to immerse myself in this intense learning? Have I examined the modules in detail? and have past graduates of my degree. What have they done? Where have they gone? So examining modules in detail is really important. And it's very, very important, in fact. So, certainly in UCC, we've got a great system, and the whole thing has been redesigned in the last year or two. So you click on a course. When you scroll down, you're going to see a little bit of blue print saying academic catalogue. You click on that, and in most cases, you have to type in the correct title of the course then into a search engine, into the box, and you're right in. You click on program requirements, and you've got the whole menu of everything you are now going to be studying, the core modules and the electives. And it's really important to do that, because you're clicking and you're kind of thinking, could I imagine myself going into this class next September? Could I imagine myself actually with a developing interest? Just, monitor your response as you're examining the modules. It's really, really important. Not all universities have that. Unfortunately, UL don't do it. MTU do it. UCD, Trinity, Galway, also, they're very good. So most universities, there's a way in to examine modules in detail. It's really, really important, because, the kind of phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, we often, we hear the title of a master's and we kind of think, oh, that's great, and we make a whole set of assumptions about it, but we're not actually really delving in order to make a very, very informed choice. So you do have to examine the modules. And, if you're interested in something and you can't get enough information, you email the course director, the administrative name, their link to that course. It's really good to get a sense of what past graduates are doing. What kinds of jobs do graduates go on to? Where are they working? What's the reputation of the course with employers? Now, that's a tricky one. I left it in there, but you're not probably going to get much of a straight answer from anyone about that, to be blunt. You're not going to go up to an employer and say, what's the reputation of this course? They're not going to probably really be able to give you a very detailed answer on that. But you get a lot of information from tracking where graduates go. And I'll give you some tips on that in a moment. Where there's a professional qualification, it's very important just to ensure that that's accredited with the right people. So we take something like, biomedical science, which is a collaborative degree between UCC and MTU. There are only 3 bachelor's degrees, BSc degrees in Ireland in biomedical science that are actually going to be accredited by the Academy of Medical Laboratory Scientists. And I think there are 1 or 2 master's programs that are accredited in the country. And so if somebody wanted to go on and get that qualification, they need to make sure, it might look like, MSc Biomedical Science, but they need to make sure that it's accredited by the Academy of Medical Laboratory Scientists. That's just an example that comes to my head. So it's like you have to make sure. And are there exemptions? Particularly more in the finance, accounting, tax areas, financial advisory, things like that, you need to check out the exemptions. Now, checking out kind of where people go, I'm going to jump ahead here for a moment. Well, actually, I'm just going to jump ahead, I'll talk. Tracking where people go, it's never been an easier time to do that. LinkedIn, it's fantastic. So you need to put in some clever searches there. We do have a guide, I think it's up on our website, your LinkedIn alumni, guide to track down alumni. But, if you put in good searches, put in LinkedIn, put in graduated, put in the title of the master's, select, do a few different searches, maybe 2021, 2023, 2019, whatever, and put in the institution. But it's how you play around with those searches. LinkedIn, graduated, definitely, title, full correct title, put in a date, just imagine up a date when they graduated, put in UCC. And then, and you can do that for other universities as well. So I find that works best, and then you're going to have to plough through quite a lot, but you're going to see different profiles of where people work. And, if you do it over a few years, you build up a pattern, then you start to see, these are the kind of things people are doing with this degree. So that's the best way of getting actual evidence of where they are, okay? We do, in UCC, we do track where all graduates go, and we have that information, but it has to be requested. We just don't have the resource to upload all that stuff publicly now. We used to do it. So if you even Googled UCC careers, where do graduates go, you will get 2020, 2018, 19 and 2020, I think. So, like, once graduates are out almost a year, we track where they are. So you will get a lot of job descriptions and employers for those years. But now we have a different system, and you can actually request it. You can contact or request it, and for postgrad courses of 10 or over, we will get some data on them. But I think LinkedIn is the best. Okay. So really helpful questions for yourself to come back to you. These are other questions, and I find these questions are really useful in one-to-one consultations with students thinking of postgrads, thinking of maybe slightly changing direction or just exploring within their area. I do a lot of this, particularly arts and humanities or business or any area, but like, what kind of things interest me? Are there things that I regularly read, or I'm online, or I keep informed about? Are there things that I have a natural area of interest that I haven't actually thought about how I could maybe connect up my degree with that? Are there things, I was just having a really interesting talk with someone yesterday, and it turned out, they're really interested in film, and they're actually often kind of just informally doing kind of reviews of film and writing. Well, these are competitive areas. As we tracked that more and more, there's quite a lot of evidence that a career in that area or in journalism could really suit this person. So it's by actually thinking very carefully about the kind of things you're interested in. So, are there sectors that link with my personal interests? There may be, linked to every area. Okay, we've got the public sector. We may have a not-for-profit sort of sector. We've got private enterprise, private sector. We've got nature's, types of activities, researching, gathering information, maybe interacting with people, maybe a lot of, analytical skills. Maybe someone is really involved in, likes to kind of write a lot. Maybe someone is really interested in the tech or technical side of things, or different combinations of activities. So, and we have some very nice psychometric profiling exercises that can be helpful as well, which I'll make available to you after. Looking at growth sectors. So there are lots of growth sectors. Obviously, I think I have a list up here, but there are obvious ones. Obviously, sustainability is a really big one. And it's not just the science end of that. It's the managing change, trying to, manage the change over in terms of changing people's behaviours and finding ways through this maybe sometimes overwhelming task of how we change how we work, our work practices on every single level to how we live. So there's a lot going on there, and more evidence showing that actually you don't need just the science or the engineering background for that. So these are AI, machine learning, things like that. So how do they link to your skills, and are there conversion areas? You're ready to make an informed decision about postgrads when you kind of know what you want from a course. So like if you had a pen and paper here right now and I said, what are the top 3 or 4 reasons why you would do a postgrad course? What are you looking for? To invest your time and fees in postgrad study. What do you want from it? Because some courses will provide you with a lot of further knowledge. It'll be very rewarding. It doesn't necessarily mean that means added, expanded or increased employability in that area directly. So if there's a master's in an area of, where you want to pursue further academic study and knowledge, you're really sharpening up your skills that are transferable skills, but they don't relate, immediately. So, if we took something like an MA in folklore or sociology or English or something across arts and humanities or philosophy, you were really, enriching your knowledge, you're deepening your research skills, your critical thinking, your writing, your ability to kind of synthesize information, your independent thinking, analysis, evaluation, all of that, managing a sizable piece of research, dissertation. All of these things are really, really valuable, and then they're skills that you bring into possibly another area. There'll be a limited number of areas where you would be. So it's just to be aware of the value, like looking at what it is that you value and what you're looking for. Are you looking for immediate employment? Are you looking for something that has a 90% kind of 9 out of 10 rate of, I'm really enthusiastic about every bit of this? Am I looking for kind of security? Am I looking for something linked to a growth area? So what do you want? So ideally, they do need to fit in, as I say, not ideally, but essentially personal interests, strengths and aspirations. So they need to be a good fit for you, okay? And that you are aware of relevant employers. You've done some research in the sector. So you've researched, you're ready to make the decision, you've researched career paths, if there's an accreditation thing, that it's properly accredited, and that there's a healthy demand for graduates of this qualification, if that's relevant. As I say, I've just been referring to some areas where that won't be as relevant immediately. You can ask a course coordinator about the destinations of past graduates. Now, if they get like 35, email requests, could you personally email me back and give me some destinations of where past graduates have gone? They may not be in a position to do that, but they are in a position to talk about their courses. Really avail of opportunities downstairs today. Make sure, and conduct an informational interview as well with past graduates. So I suggest that you network with people, make contact, reach out if you find past graduates, link up, network, make contact with someone maybe, on LinkedIn, put out some requests to link up. Maybe when you've done that, see, would you mind if I asked you a few questions? I see that you've done the Masters in blah, 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 blah. I'm actually really interested in this course. And, and this is also informal networking. This is the kind of thing that often, who knows, 2 years down the road, you might get a referral from that person who may end up working there. So it's always helpful. Everything is helpful. If you're getting a testimony from one person, do not just rely on one person, please. It could be quite biased. Everyone has their unique experience, so try and get a minimum of 2 people. All right? Now, let's look at the postgrad conversion route. So, conversion as the term sounds very dramatic. So, it's a postgrad course that enables you to acquire knowledge and skills in a new area. Now, the origin of conversion courses is usually to get funding for the Higher Education Authority, Department of Education and Skills, to actually approve a new conversion course. There's a reason for it. The skills are needed, So that's. I mean, when I was coming out of university, every second person was doing a higher diploma in computer science because it had just sort of snowballed, and there were people from all kinds of backgrounds doing it. And these are all the people now, the middle-aged people, a lot of them working in tech, but that was often their origin, because suddenly there was just this explosion of need for people with those skills. So I think that's one of the best examples of the first, conversion course, and it kind of sets the scene for kind of what most of them are about. Most of them last 1 year, so it's the first step in a new career direction. So we look at someone who might do, English and history, and do business information systems for business performance. Someone who's I met someone at our graduate recruitment fair last year who had Irish and geography. They were working for Accenture, big consultancy, and they had done the Masters in digital design for business. So these are just sort of examples. A lot of them have IT, digital kind of skills in them. Now, some of them, if it's a professional qualification, they're 2 years, and most of those are in the health area, which we'll be looking at in a moment. So sometimes it's an access route onto a postgrad program. So, one example I can think of, actually someone I was working with, I used to do some collaborative work between the two universities at one point, MTU before it was called MTU. And I remember having one student who had done, an honours degree in quantity surveying, but loved English. It's like, I should have done an English degree. And so, I put him in contact with that he could actually do a higher diploma in English here, which he did. Then, his plan then was to go on and do an MA in English. So it's like, that's quite an extreme example of where, maybe if you were thinking, God, I should have maybe done this when I finished school, maybe there's another way into it. Of course, conversion courses are also a really good way into courses, typically for school leavers, where maybe they didn't have the points for a high demand course with high points, things like, particularly the health area, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, radiography, things like this, physiotherapy. These would be known conversion programs. We have some here, obviously. We have a number of them. We've got dietetics and radiography, radiotherapy and so on, physiotherapy, audiology. But a number of people may go on to Scotland to do that. It's often the most cost-effective way to do it. So, and they would need some relevant degree in most cases. Some cases a language degree would work for speech and language therapy. In most cases social science, early years education, things like that. So sometimes you need a kind of an area that's semi-relevant, but it's something to really think about. And here I am jumping ahead again, but it's like, so it can be very tempting to think, you know, oh, I'll do it, so I'll go straight on, I do this and I'll get a job now after it. Again, you have to really do the research and you have to really connect yourself with this. This is my career. Do I want to be in this sector? Do I want to be doing this? How can this enhance my, you know, my career development and my interests? So don't be tempted. Sometimes what happens with the conversion courses, the particularly popular ones that have, you know, I mean, things like data analytics is a huge area now, analytics and everything, so a lot of people just automatically think of something like that. You really have to think about whether you're suited. So you must think of your level of interest and your suitability and aptitude for the course. Is it a good fit? For those with a tech side to it, there will be some coding, there'll be programming. You know, are you up for that? Or do you have a proven track record maybe of experience already? You know, sometimes people come in, they might say to me, oh, I'd love to be a journalist, or I'd love to, you know, something like this. And I like, well, you know, what have you been doing while you're in college? Have you ever written anything? Are you even just writing it privately for yourself? Have you ever tried to get involved in the college newspaper or magazine? So how do we know? So sometimes in areas like that, you actually already have to show that you've got some interest. That will also go for some of those health areas like occupational therapy, voluntary work, things like that, or relevant experience. So a proven track record. So for example, PR, advertising, marketing, if it were a competitive course, you might need to show, well, like, you know, I was involved in the dance club or the, you know, drama society or something, and I was doing the PR for that, or I did the social media for, you know, a restaurant I was working with. I got involved and I offered to update their Instagram every week. So these are things that actually prove your motivation and your interest. So conversion courses, yeah, just to summarise, skills and expertise in a new area. You can gain access to a course which otherwise would not be available to you. Often that's going back to when you were starting college. And sometimes you need to look at the really nice combination, how it might enhance your background already, or, you know, it can go directly into a new area. They're certainly in skills shortage and knowledge shortage areas, so that's a plus factor. It enables you to change direction and advance your career goals. So we'll just take a look at some of these. These are some of the areas. Obviously, so some people from health areas, maybe nursing, occasionally social science, could be public health, different areas, can move into health areas. Science and health, you know, disciplines. In some, what we call the allied health professions, things like the speech and language and occupational therapy and things, more social sciences can use. IT, most people are able to go into IT-related conversion courses. Art, social sciences, anyone can. Business, in most cases, anyone can apply for a business conversion course. Science, no, not really. You know, sorry, I'm looking at this the flip way around, but we talked about this a moment, looking at the arrows out. So anyone who wants to move into a science area or an engineering area, that's quite limiting and limited, and it would usually mean there are some people from science can move into an engineering master's or postgrad diploma. And there might be some people from a science degree or from an engineering degree could move into some science-related area, providing there's a big overlap and there's a proven, you know, there's a real overlap in the background. So there are some cases of that. But basically, sorry, looking at the arrows here, people from all of these areas can move into conversion courses into other areas. Okay, so do have a look. I mean, the whole list is here. So there are postgrad, you know, actual hard copies downstairs of every single course. I don't suggest everyone just goes through the whole list and you know, ticks off 10 of them. You need to really be quite discerning. But there's a lot of information, obviously, and links in on our website. So I'm not going to call all these out, but I just want you, I'm going to give you just a few seconds to have a look and see, is there anything there that even just grabs your interest? So this would be across arts and humanities. Anything that you see as a higher diploma is bringing you up to speed with the equivalent of a level 8 honours degree. So it's a combination, it's an intensive 60 credits combination of second year and third year modules. And in some cases, if you're looking for it to teach, you can do an extra 10 credits in first year. Okay? Whether there's a charge for that 10 credits or not, I would have to confirm. You'd have to find out. So sometimes people maybe were doing an arts and humanities degree, or any degree where they're thinking they'd like to add something else to be able to teach. Providing you have a degree already with some subjects that would enable you to teach, then you can add one of these subject areas that would be on the curriculum, junior or senior cycle curriculum, and that you can add that as a teaching subject. So that's very handy, and it's particularly popular. So these are just more. So things like social policy would be one if anyone was interested in social work. Regardless of your background, you need a background in social policy. So there are 2 or 3 different ways of coming up to speed with social policy, and that would equip you then to be able to apply for the Masters in Social Work. Okay. Now, so business, there are so many different areas. Now, in most cases in business, you will actually need a relevant background. There are some well-known conversion courses in the BIS-related area, management and marketing, HR management, what else am I thinking? Management, marketing, HR management, information systems for business performance, things like that. So there will be some HR, management information, managerial accounting systems. Okay, sustainability and enterprise, it's an online course, but we've got the Masters now in International Sustainable Business Practices, which is really interesting. I was in with doing some workshops with these students this year, and they're coming from all kinds of backgrounds, actually, from arts, humanities, nursing, business, law, engineering, science, really interesting. So, and in some cases, the LLM in environmental law and natural resources, in some cases, they will, depending on your application, you don't need a law degree for it. There are people from different backgrounds doing that. Okay? So these would be some areas. These, believe it or not, are open to people from any all graduates. Computing technology, which is like a kind of a condensed, squashed together version of aspects of the computer science degree. Interactive media, and believe it or not, marine biology. It's a postgrad certificate, but then that could step on into something else. Maybe into higher diploma, maybe postgrad diploma, maybe a master's. So then these are kind of broad areas that, from anyone in a kind of a STEM-y sort of an area, open to a wide range of science graduates and people of quantitative disciplines. Pharmaceutical regulatory science, clinical measurement, physiology, well, that would absolutely be science, data science and analytics, bioinformatics. So you just see the wide variety. These are very popular for people who have a social science or health background. Most of these, the safest one is to have some health-related background, some are nursing, a science background, and there will be some specific requirements for human nutrition and dietetics. You do need a specific module in nutrition that some people do as an extra module. So these are more, I'm skipping through these, related to people who are already kind of in the sciences. So these are just some, examples of courses, conversion courses across all the universities in the country. Journalism, MTU, DCU, actually Limerick, and probably several other places. Publishing, Galway, clinical measurement, TUD, archives management, librarian studies and information science would be another one in UCD. And there are some of these it's called the IED Hub is what you look at in education. Now, these are across science, pharma and health relevant courses. It's a collaboration between industry, MTU and UCC. A lot of these are funded, and the funding officially ran out between 20 and 2024, so not all of them are, but some of them are, so there's just absolutely no available information as to whether they'll be funded again at this point in time. But it's just an interesting one to look at if you've got a relevant background there. The profiling for success is something that I'd encourage you to do. If you're really kind of unclear or thinking about certain avenues you could take, like sometimes, while we are quite short-staffed as career consultants, there are a few of us around, and there are a lot of students, even though we love working with students in one-to-one consultations. These kind of profiling exercises can be helpful, but particularly helpful if as part of a career consultation or a series of them to navigate a new direction if you're trying to figure out what's the best direction to take. So We have, values-based indicator, career interest inventory, type dynamics. It's like the 16 personalities, kind of Myers-Briggs type assessment, and learning styles. And they can be useful to, as a composite, kind of as a series of discussions to make some decisions about. And there are some other things I use, but as well that would be useful. So these are the ones I was talking about, basically. So they're freely available. You just log in with your UCC email address, and you can do these and get a report sent to you. And it can help considerably. Now, so we do provide one-to-one consultations. We've less staff this year, and so there are 4 of us and 24,000 students, but we do put up, I try and have about 12 to 15 consultations online are available that you can book on our system, on our Connect system. The barcode is downstairs on a screen, and you can literally just book an appointment, UCC Careers, just Google that, and you will literally get in. And that can be helpful, for us. Now, I speak fast, and I've galloped through a lot of this, so we've got some time, so I'd be really happy to take some questions. Any kind of questions at all. There's no such thing as an uninformed or silly question, just anything that might occur to you from anything I've said, or something you're thinking about. There's a lot of information in here. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah?
And maybe I'm just not the same background, but what do you mean by psychometric assessment support?
Oh yeah, actually they've been designed by a team of psychologists. Sorry for using that term, yeah, psychometric. They're like interest profiling exercises. So, there are lots of career interest profiling exercises, and I use some additional ones in addition to this sometimes that can be useful as part of a series of consultations. But sometimes, it's important to spend time really thinking about what you are suited to. Your career is going to change direction a lot these days. I mean, obviously there are some people who come out with a degree with a professional qualification, or maybe they'll do a postgraduate course with a professional qualification, and they think, well, that's it now, I'm going to be such and such, a physiotherapist. And sometimes people even change careers within that. But generally, we navigate different directions now. It's incredibly normal. So it's become very important that we like what we do, that we're suited to it, that we're working with our best sort of career-related kind of strengths, personality qualities, characteristics, the kind of people we work with, the kind of environment we're in, the nature of kind of what we do. So there are career profiling exercises that can really help us think a bit more about that and refine down some information about ourselves into niche areas that we can think about. Career profiling exercises are not designed to just spew out a job. That's it, you will become a tax advisor. It's not like that. But it will point to certain areas and patterns. And these days, I suppose, years ago, a career was always about, a job, and you earn a living, and if you're unhappy on it, you kind of make the best of it. If you're unhappy in an environment, that's kind of no longer, I mean, it is for many people. We're living in a very privileged part of the planet, and work started out as survival. We work to earn a living, to provide for ourselves and our families, and that is absolutely the core of work. In the very privileged part of the world that we live in, we expect to be fulfilled. We expect to be motivated and naturally enthusiastic. And that's the expectation in organizations as well. If you're not a good fit for the work you're doing, you can move on. Like, there are very few people these days who will stick with something just because it's like, well, that's just what you do, I was working with somebody, I think 3 years ago. I done an accounting degree, and I was just helping her informally. She hadn't done accounting here, she done it elsewhere, and actually hated it, and managed to get herself a training contract, and hated it. And I was just looking at her here, about 21 or 2 years of age, why would you be doing something like this if you hate it? You know, those days are gone. And she stuck it out for about a year and a half and left. And she's now, you know, got a veterinary nursing qualification and actually is working in that area, which is what she wanted. But I'm using that as an example. It comes to mind, like that kind of, like we are living in a very privileged part of the world where we've 100% employment. You know, we may be unsure and worried about our careers and will we get a job, but there is employment everywhere. And so it's quite normal and wise and highly advised that you make career decisions that suit you, that you are going to, that you can develop, that you have enough enthusiasm and a natural gravitation towards thinking, doing, performing tasks that are suited to you, so that you can actually experience success and expand and thrive and develop in that area. And that will happen over time. And if you're in the wrong area, you can change direction. And you know, and that can be quite a challenging thing to do when you're working in an area for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Sometimes it could just be the environment you're working in. But it's absolutely possible now to change direction, both from your degree or to, you know, just select an area linked to your degree to develop more skills and expertise in an area that you think would really be suited to you. So it is important to connect yourself, your what we call career relevant qualities and characteristics and attributes, ways of thinking, ways of learning. You know, the personality types indicator one is actually really nice to do, and understand how your personality affects your career choices and learn to describe your traits to employers. You get a really nice report. Like, we all tend to skim read these days because we're just watching stuff online all the time. If you take the time to do these and particularly look at the reports, the way you tend to process information, the way your mind naturally works and tends to use information, how you respond to information. Are you very speedy? Are you kind of an activist? Are you more of a reflector and theorist? You know, or you know, this and the combination really help you understand yourself. And these two, and like, it's not coming up with a specific role, but there are in the personality types indicator based on Myers-Briggs and designed by a really experienced team of psychologists. These are used across universities in the UK and Ireland. It gives you, it's not something to box yourself in, but it gives you a way of understanding yourself. You get a very detailed report, particularly these lower two, I find. The values one is important, but our values tend to change. We learn more about our values as we're in the world of work, and we start to discover more about what's important to us and the kind of environment that's important and so on. So all of these things and our career interest all of these together are very, very important, and they all fit well together. But you have to take the time, read them, you know, take the time, kind of highlight certain things, maybe talk to someone, you know, to 1 or 2 people that you trust, that you're kind of on a level with, about them, and all of these things will actually help you to make, you know, just to become much clearer. And then as you know, then in turn, in tandem, as you're researching career areas, and particularly where you're doing the research, you know, online then, in terms of LinkedIn, and looking at the kinds of organizations and roles that people are in, then you start to build up an idea, you know, would this suit me? Yeah, and you're looking at the modules as well and talking to people. And I suppose I must say that, you know, going straight on to a postgrad course, as I say, is not always the right area. Well, we'd love to fill up all our postgrad courses here and promote UCC. You know, I'm an advocate for every one of you, no matter what you do, that like it's what's right for you. So sometimes it's good to take a year out. You know, maybe just build up on your digital skills, get some relevant experience. You could be just working in a role that could actually pay the bills but be very good, and you could allocate certain time in the year or in your month or in your week to do some work shadowing, to do some more career research, maybe to do some volunteering, to maybe get some internship experience. And all of these things will then help make you maybe a more informed decision the following year and build up your employability skills as well. The other thing is sometimes, and more and more people are saying, you know, especially if they're not from Cork, saying the accommodation, everything, this is very costly. Maybe I look at other ways, and you might look at a series for a year of, you know, working and saving, and doing some micro-credentials, some short online courses, maybe a part-time online course, an adult ed course somewhere that's actually bringing you closer to the direction maybe what you're interested in at postgrad level, and then preparing you and equipping you to maybe get started the following year. Another thing that I haven't mentioned are something called flexible options. So I might show that in a moment. Hang on, I'll just get rid of the, okay. So that's, okay. So this talk will be available on Panopto or something, yeah. So, I mean, these are just, okay, UCC Study Postgrad, the taught courses link, postgrad research options, finding your further study in your career. We've got some nice, pages there on our website. And this will be Grad Ireland, which is the platform for all third level institutions in Ireland, and that would be nationwide, will get you into courses. But if you think you're interested in another college, just get into that college as well and you can do a good search. What I wanted to show you really was in terms of, now this is absolutely, it is not possible for lots of courses, but if I Google flexible options in UCC, it is possible to do maybe 10 or 20 credits in a year in an area, okay? So if we Google, it's hard to see here. Flexi options, there we go. So flexi options is a way of getting a taster of a course. Now it's more designed for undergrad courses, but in some cases you can actually study maybe, let's imagine you're thinking of, I don't know, management and marketing. I've never done any management and marketing. You might be interested in that. Or food business and innovation is another very, attractive course here for people. It's a conversion program and there's a workplace and stuff. So, it's like a kind of a, again, condensed version of the food marketing and entrepreneurship. And so you might say, no, I don't know anything about food business. I wonder could I do 5 or 10 credits of food business to get a sense of whether I'm interested in that, and I might work part-time or, at the same time. And then you can apply to do specific modules. Now, the modules that are excluded are modules that need facilities, like lab terminals, or computer rooms, lab terminals. All of those are out, okay? So, and courses that provide professional qualifications are out. But across the board, if there are areas where you'd like to get a taster of a different area, you can actually apply. You just pay for that module. So you do all the coursework, there'll be 5 or 10 credits, 15 or 20. You can do, so, and you can do a maximum of 30, okay? And you can apply. Generally, it's in August or in the summer. So the majority of modules are available subject to approval by the head of that department. Okay, there'll be some areas that won't be up for grabs, but and you fill in the modules in a form, and then you just pay for that kind of 5 or 10 or 15 credits. You might do 10 credits in semester 1, 10 in semester 2, something like that. And then, of course, if you did go on and do a postgrad in that course, you would get exemptions if you passed and did all that coursework in that. Now, it's not a big thing that I don't want to really, I'm inundating people with queries about this, because it really is more modules where there are large numbers and, specialised facilities and that are not included, are not required. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is it applicable for anyone to convert their career in health sector or something else?
No, well, as I say, in some areas around science and health, for very obvious reasons, you need a relevant background already. But have you got something in mind? Like, could you give me an example? Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, science and engineering and medicine and health are sort of exempt, as in you have to have some kind of relevant background in that area. But in other areas, particularly around technology, business, anything business related, in most cases, anyone can apply for those courses.
So does it affect their career paths in
No. I mean, I can't speak for every employer. You might get some employers saying, oh no, I want someone with a 4-year BSc in finance degree as well as a master's. I don't want someone who's done a law degree and is doing a finance master's. Do you understand? But I can't, but generally, absolutely not. The background is relevant. It's what I'm saying, the background is relevant as in it's relevant to employers because you've a whole other set of transferable or transversal skills you're bringing from your original background. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I suggest if there's anything of interest to you, make a point of going down and talk to people downstairs. Okay? And I suppose the key thing, I just want you, even just because we tend not to remember our information as we're sitting in a talk, just for a moment stop and think, what are the 2 or 3 things that have been useful for me today that I now know or that I'm thinking about as a result of this? I mean, the focus really was on how to make the right decisions rather than giving you lots of information on courses. Like, what would be, that would be the outcome here. What would be important for you to make sure you have done before you commit to a course? All right. Okay? Okay, thank you. So we finished a few minutes early. Stop recording. I did press and record.
Here? Oh yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, great.